Good evening, everyone. This time I will call the meeting to order and ask everyone if you have an electronic that you would shut it off, please, so it doesn't interfere with the meeting. And first of all, I'd like to give sympathies to the Larry Snively family on the loss of Larry's sister, Marilyn Kennedy, last Thursday. So our deepest sympathies from the town, Larry. And at this time, I'd ask if there's any conflicts of interest amongst the council members. No? Thank you very much. Oh, one thing I forgot. Eva won't be here this evening. I think she's still at school. Right? Thanks. Okay. Okay, Robert?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a closed meeting report, just to advise the council did meet in closed session earlier this evening. Council received 2 updates on 2 proposed or pending acquisition or dispositions of land pursuant to Section 239 2B, and then pursuant to Section 239 2BC, Council received updates on 2 employee matters. And that's the extent of my report this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
At this time, I should ask Council if we will have time to reconvene after the meeting, seeing how I called a recess at that in-camera meeting. At this time, would you like to reconvene or no? I have 1 yes, 2 yeses, 3 yeses, 4. Okay, so we'll reconvene right after this. For Councilor votes, yes, sir.
In the meeting, I was trying to make a statement in terms of the progression of what we were talking about. And I'm asked that an explanation, in which I was asking for. I just wanted to explain to council.
Point of order.
Okay. Sure.
Point of order, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were in a closed meeting, having a discussion.
Yeah.
And that needs to stay there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. 100%,
Okay.
Steve, I agree. So if I could, I'm going to ask council.
Councilor votes.
Okay, fine.
Excuse me.
Okay, that's fine.
Councilor Bjorkman,
Yep.
point of order.
No problem.
Now, I must deal with point of order.
No,
And
I'm okay with that.
Okay, and I'm going to agree with Councilor Bjorkman
Well, you should.
that, thank you very much. So we will reconvene our in-camera meeting because there's something that needs to be dealt with tonight. Okay, thank you very much for that.
Item 4 on the agenda, looking for adoption of published agenda as presented or amended this evening.
Councilor Rogers and Councilor Bondi, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 5, adoption of minutes. 5.1, minutes of the regular council meeting held September 17th, 2018.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Councilor Rogers. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Mike, Steve.
5.2, minutes of the special council meeting held March 26, 2018.
Moved by Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Deputy Mayor Melange. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
And 5.3, minutes of the special council meeting held November 13th, 2017.
Moved by Councilor Bondi, supported by Councilor Snively. Questions? All in favor? Carries. Accompanied by Mr. Morrison. Jack, you got her, sir.
Earlier this year, so I'm just providing a little update. I know it's of interest to some council members. So,
The Southwestern Integrated Fiber Technology Initiative, known as SWIFT, is a long-term and future-proof plan that aims to help our region connect, compete, and keep pace in a changing and increasingly digital world. SWIFT is based on the simple principle that no matter who you are or where you live or work, you deserve access to high-speed internet. We're investing in a far-reaching fiber optic network that will provide affordable high-speed internet access across southwestern Ontario, Caledon, and Niagara region. Internet access is now essential to how we live, work, and play. But many communities across our region don't have access to the connectivity they need to thrive and prosper. SWIFT will level the playing field and create a more competitive marketplace that will better serve both urban and rural communities. Covering Windsor to Orillia, Kincardine to Caledon, and Niagara region, SWIFT is Canada's largest regional broadband project to date. The $288 million project is funded by the federal and provincial governments, municipal governments, and the private sector, with support from school boards, colleges, universities, the healthcare sector, and First Nations. SWIFT will provide fiber-based connectivity to both major urban centers and rural communities with as few as 4 people per square kilometer. Our network will connect 3.5 million people across 350 communities. That's nearly 10% of Canada's population across a region 9 times the size of Prince Edward Island. SWIFT has been planned to be future-proof, self-funding, and sustainable. The network will be built, owned, and maintained by service providers, while the Board of Directors will provide public oversight and hold service providers accountable to their commitments. SWIFT will expand the reach of existing fiber optic networks and make it easier, faster, and cheaper for internet service providers to connect homes and businesses to high-speed internet. A dedicated broadband development fund will continue to provide funding to expand fiber connectivity to every home, farm, and business across our region. The first phase of the project is well underway, and we aim to begin construction by early 2018. Join us now, become a member of SWIFT, and commit your sites to the network to help us reach the critical mass we need to expand rapidly across southwestern Ontario, Caledon, and Niagara region. Members benefit from greater buying power and the significant expertise we've developed after more than 5 years of advocacy on your behalf. Membership means your organization and your community will have a voice and a choice as we build broadband for everyone. Become a SWIFT member and help us build broadband for everyone. You can reach us by phone at 519-914-1308 or by email at info@swiftnetwork.ca. Follow us on social media by finding us on Twitter or Facebook. And for all the latest news and updates and to join our mailing list, please visit our website at www.swiftnetwork.ca. Join us today and help build broadband for everyone in southwestern Ontario, Caledon, and Niagara region.
That was just a little recap of what the SWIFT project is all about. So currently, this is the coverage area that SWIFT is focusing on, which was already outlined in the video. And we are, or I shouldn't say we, they are in phase 1. So that's the plans right now, is to build the fiber optic backbone. And then after the backbone has been completed, they're looking to expand it through a number of areas throughout southwestern Ontario. So right now, the project, the RFP is closed. It closed on August 10th, so they're looking at the bidders for the vendors of record. These are a list of companies that are pre-qualified through NetCo that applied for the RFP. So the main key for this is that the providers offer fiber optics. So they're not looking at a wireless solution. They must provide fiber through the communities. And then once they have this, once they've completed the RFP, NetCo will be looking at selecting the vendor and then start construction. This is a projected timeline. And then the overall program timing. And this is to communicate with SWIFT to look at areas that are underserviced. We work very closely with them through WeConnect, which is the Windsor Essex Connect. It's an IT group that services all public sector down in this area, the universities, the other municipalities, police. Is there any questions?
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Barron. So the one question that I do have is, these list of persons that had the RFP, are those is that the extent of who will bring it directly to our houses?
Actually, how it works are, those are the companies that will actually lay the backbone, the fiber backbone. So they'll be building the infrastructure. The companies that will put fiber to your home will be MNSI, like the MNSIs, the local internet service providers. So because certain areas do not have fiber optics anywhere, SWIFT is going to work with the larger companies to provide fiber in that area, and then it's called last mile, then other smaller companies can access that fiber and provide fiber to your home.
So these companies right here provide the backbone.
Right.
Let's say, for instance, just in Essex County here, just so we have a good vision of this. How many lines, or like, are they going to be going up and down certain well-traveled roads?
They look at the underserviced areas. There are maps that I actually don't have access to. It's very, everything is, with SWIFT is very hush-hush because there's a lot of government funding. But what they do is they look at the underserviced areas and they'll say, okay, whichever county road doesn't have fiber, they'll say, okay, well, we need fiber from point A to point B, and then along this road there are, I don't know how many dozen homes, then other companies can tap into that fiber, provide internet connectivity, broadband to your home.
So the rural roads, like, let's say we have a gravel road with 4 houses on it, because they're saying areas even with 4 residents on a road or something like that. That's what they said earlier. So if we've got gravel roads, for instance, in rural Essex County or Essex that have 4 houses on it, are we expected to bring the wire down that particular road, or is that going to be part of the project as well?
That's all part of the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir, and we have Councilor Bjorkman.
Thank you, through your worship, Mr. Barron. When they were here, I don't know, it was close to a year ago, I guess, probably, when they made a presentation to us, and they were talking about that survey that's there. One of the positive things for people to go to that survey and fill it out was, that's how they were trying to find the underserviced areas that they would go to first.
That's correct.
So that's back out here again. We need to get that information out to our residents. If we can do that through our communications and on our Facebook pages and website again, to encourage our residents to go to that survey and fill it in and help us become one of those targets on their network. Now, going through the timelines, we didn't have these timelines before. Do I understand that they expect it says project closeout, so they expect to have it be fully functioning for everyone, Southwest Ontario, by 2023?
That's, I think that would be something SWIFT could talk to, but that's their plan, yes.
Okay, yeah, I just want to say that is their target. I mean,
Yes, that's their target.
we'll see what happens as far as funding
But
grows.
as the project starts and the construction builds, then it will expand, then that actually will give smaller companies access and say, well, I know if I run fiber down here, I can tap into this backbone and then provide service to these other homes and locations as well.
All right, so that my last question is to that backbone. So the backbone will be built from, say, Waterloo to Windsor, and that will be there for everyone before they start branching out. Because my concern is they start in Waterloo and start working their way down. Well, they get around London and it gets busy, and we don't get even our backbone down here that we could actually do what maybe the Amherstburg's doing and partnering with somebody to actually help us, jump the queue a little bit if we need to.
It doesn't work like from top to bottom. They have key areas that they're really focused on. So it'll say be, this location, this location, this location, and depending on who the provider is, they'll work with them to expand fiber throughout that region.
Okay, so that's where it's even more important that we get out, we get our name out, everybody who needs fiber optic and wants it, that they know they've got 20,000 customers in Essex, and Essex becomes a place that they want to be, because that's where the money will start coming from first. So again, I drive everybody we can to that website and get that survey filled. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for that, sir. Councillor Rogers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Jack as well. So the 2023 is the best scenario for the backbone to be in place. And we're looking at possibly years after that, or a couple of years, for the smaller service providers to tie into it. And so realistically, we're looking at 2025, 2026, before possibly all of our town might be covered by high-speed internet.
That I'm not 100% certain of to forecast for that.
Forecast on something like that?
But once they start laying the backbone to the smaller areas, internet service providers will then be able to expand their service. So if there's a region that has, that utilizes wireless coverage, that has poor service in that area, once that connectivity is available, they'll be able to increase their service to different areas.
Any further questions? Comments? Okay. Motion receives the report. Councillor Bondi and Councillor Ron Rogers. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item 8.1 on the agenda, Infrastructure and Development, Report 2018-16, results of request for tender, winter control agreement for truck, salter, plow, and wing rental. For receipt, and that council award the request for tender to 1839431 Ontario Limited, Colchester Farms.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Related, but not exactly related. I just hope that administration can have that high-level discussion with the downtown contractor for Harrow Centre and in Essex Centre, that if there's a breakdown during winter control, that they let us know so we can let the residents and the merchants know, because last year it snowed and we were all expecting it and there was a few breakdowns and it turned kind of chaotic. So I'm hoping that we can get ahead of it this year. Christmas in October, right?
Anything else? We got to vote, Nandy. All in favor? Motion carries.
8.2, Infrastructure and Development, 2018-17, results of request for tender, supply of bulk winter road salt. For receipt, and that council award the request for tender to K&S Windsor Salt Limited.
Moved by Councillor Rogers, supported by Deputy Mayor Milosh. Question, Councillor Snively.
Through your worship to Chris, was there only one that tender to that? Just one?
Through your worship, yes, there's only one in the area that supplies salt.
Okay.
Most municipalities don't even procure.
They don't.
They just give it to them. We, in following our strict procurement and transparency and whatnot, we procure or we put it out for tender, and then they bid it and ultimately award it.
Further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.3, Infrastructure and Development, 2018-18, results of request for proposal for the supply and installation of vehicle tracking system and digital two-way voice radio system. For receipt, and that council award the request for proposal to Sky Mobile Corporation.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Milosh, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Fire Report 2018-007, re-update on the Ontario Provincial Nuclear Emergency Response Plan. for receipt by council this evening.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Comments, questions? Councillor Vokes.
I want to go on record that the minutes show from Donna that it says all council members took training, and I want to go on record very clearly and say that I didn't take that training. I refuse that training.
Point of information, wrong report, sir.
We're talking about...
Yeah.
We're talking about the chief.
Yep.
I'm sorry?
You're two more down. You're two more down.
8.4 we're on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yep.
apologize.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.5 on the agenda, Community Services, 2018-34, re Colchester Harbor breakwall repair for receipt, and that council approve the funding for the town's portion of the of the Colchester Harbor breakwall repair funded from the Colchester Harbor dock reserves in the amount of $40,000, including HST, and made conditional on the Department of Fisheries and Oceans providing matching funds.
By Councillor Rogers, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Questions? Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know who to ask this question to, but in reading the report, we're able to salvage some of the armor stone that has fallen into the lake, that rolled off the breakwalls. And I've had conversations with residents who have been told that they can't reclaim the stones that fall from their breakwalls during these storms and storm events, and they have to buy new stone to put on top, because once the stone has hit the lake floor, it's a part of the environment there. So I just would like some clarification that if we're allowed to reclaim the stones for our breakwall, why aren't our residents allowed to reclaim the stones for their breakwalls? It's a lot of money that they spend. We're going through all kinds of damage right now out on the lakes, so I would like to just get some clarification there. If we don't have it today, that we can at least get it.
I think we'll go to Mr. Sweet, see if he has an answer.
Through your worship, I'll start, and our manager of the harbor, Jay Affleck, can add on if I miss anything here. We've met on site with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and basically they set up the scope of work, and it's through them. They normally get the permits through IRCA and the other agencies. But the first step is to take any of the armor stone that is in terms of the lake, put it on before they bring any new stone. So that is based on their scope. It's not our direction, it's based on what they do and the permits they get.
Councillor?
Yeah, so thank you for that, and I'm not suggesting that the town of Essex is telling people they can't reclaim their stone. That's not where it is, so we need to ask that question, that if it's okay for municipalities to do it, then our residents should be able to do the same there. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Anything further? No? Okay, all in favor of that motion? Motion carries.
Building Department Report 2018-08, in reference to August 2018 Building Report for receipt by council this evening.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Meloche, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? Councillor Snively.
Yes, if I can, to Jeff. What is the holdup with the Delabana right now? Can you answer that, Jeff?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, currently Delabana is working on a stormwater management plan that will be satisfactory to the Essex Region Conservation Authority. And that's basically the last hurdle to overcome before they can start construction.
Councillor Bjorkman.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just looking at the report, and we have 53 single-family residence permits this year. We're up 60% in our construction values this year over last year. So just a great story that's going on there to the builders that are in our town that are taking the time to invest and do that. We can see that there's an increase, and we appreciate them being here, and we hope to continue to see that grow. Thank you.
Eight point seven, Chief Administrative Officer Report 2018-05, Essex Fire and Rescue Services, update on recommendations from the workplace assessment for receipt this evening.
Moved by Councillor Snively, Councillor Bundy, and our CAO would like to make a comment.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. I just want to note in the report, it maybe not clear, any of the training that was identified for an implementation date of May 31st, what that was not actually implementation of the training necessarily, but was to communicate the dates for that training to the firefighters, that's all.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further? Councillor Holtz?
Yeah, in the, again, in the minutes from Donna, it had indicated in there that all council members took training. And I wanted to show on that record that I didn't take that training because I was opposed to the fact that as a result of the concerns and grievances that the guys on the fire department had, they were imposed with an abundance of training that I didn't agree with. And so I want it stricken from the record that I attended that training because I didn't attend any of that training. I refused all of it. So I want the record to show that I didn't take no training.
That'll be looked after, sir.
Planning Report 2018-39, re-extension of the Source Water Protection Plan Agreement, and this is together with Bylaws 1751, authorizing the entering into of said agreement for receipt and for 3 readings to Bylaws 1751 this evening.
Moved by Councillor Bundy, supported by Councillor Rogers. Any questions? Councillor Bundy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if this question would go to Mr. Watson, our policy planner, or Mr. Nepsey, our director of infrastructure. If a council member got a complaint about a hot tap, is this fall under source water protection, or does this fall under something else regulated within our municipality?
Mr. Nepsey?
Through your worship, hot tap or basically a sanitary connection from a septic bed into a municipal drain or a roadside drain would fall into the building department's hands, and then through property standards in conjunction with the Ministry of the Environment, we'd work through it that way. So I would recommend that they call the building department and start there.
Thank you. Councillor Rogers?
Further to that, would IRCA be involved in a hot tap?
Through your worship, not initially. I mean, if it's into, designated areas potentially, but it would definitely start with the town in terms of following through on that.
Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.9, Community Services, 2018-12 re-extension agreement, and this is together with Bylaws 1750, being a bylaw to authorize said extension agreement for receipt and with 3 readings to Bylaws 1750.
Moved by Councillor Berkman, supported by Councillor Bondy. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 9, any reports from our youth members this evening?
Good evening, young man. Hey, thank you for showing up. Thanks.
Item 10, any updates from County Council this evening?
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 reports that have come out from County Council that might be of some interest to our council members and to our residents. And one was from our meeting, our last meeting of County Council on September the 19th. It's with regard to housing with supports program standards. So I'm not going to go through the whole program because it took about an hour to actually go through the entire presentation, but one of the things that I would like to say is that the system over the years has gone from a very complicated system with 5 different ministries involved down to one ministry now that handles the situation with community homelessness and prevention initiatives. And that's exactly what it's called, Community Homelessness Prevention Initiative, which is CHPI. And it's handled, the City of Windsor actually handles it through their social services program, so the county is a partner, but we really don't have a lot of say in how the things work. But it's up to the City of Windsor to do a good job in the county as well. So they did their presentation, and in all honesty, the county was not 100% satisfied that the needs of county residents were being taken care of. So we challenged the City of Windsor's social services programmers, and actually said that we want a better layout of how they're going to handle, and in particular it's Leamington. It's not so much Essex, but it's Leamington, where we have a lot of homelessness and we have a lot of immigrant workers there. And for that reason, they are going to come back to us at County Council and bring a more directed result of what's going on in Leamington and how they can better manage and give service to those residents in the Leamington area. But if any council members or if any residents are interested in that particular presentation, I have a copy of it that I can send out, or you can go on the County of Essex website and you can get that report. So that's all I'll say about that, but it was a very interesting report put on by the Social Services of Windsor. The other one that is coming up is EMS Services. And we will have that, that's actually going to be presented to the mayor and myself and all the other county council members tomorrow night, or Wednesday night, sorry. But some of the service targets that they have for EMS over time, we've continuously challenged, County Council has continuously challenged our EMS services to come up with a better way of trying to record standards, and the province has helped in this matter as well, of measuring how well we're doing as a service delivery for EMS. And Mr. Mayor, at any point in time, if you want to jump in, if you think that you want to add a point, you're more than welcome. But how they measure themselves are on different call-ins, and the different call-ins are sudden cardiac arrest, and then they have different categories of seriousness, and they go from 1 through 5 after that. And they're different, the different number of minutes that they're allowed to from the point of call to the time that they actually arrive on the scene is measured. And in this instance of a sudden cardiac arrest, the standard is they have to be there in 6 minutes. And I'd like to report that the target is about 55%, and that's what the province holds every ambulance service to across the province. And I'm happy to say that in 2019, we hit 59%, which is still, I mean, there's still some room for improvement. Obviously, if I'm having a heart attack, I would hope that it would be 100%, that they'd be there in 6 minutes. But we're at 59%, and year-to-date in 2018, they've improved that to 64%. All of the other ones, different targets that the province have set, were clearly above in every category in being at the scene and the number of prescribed minutes that the province wants us to be there. On top of that, the action plans that they have, a lot of it's got to do with the offload diversions. And one of the tactics that EMS has decided to go with is that the ambulance attendants now have an opportunity to assess the situation with the patient, and if the patient is in a condition that they feel they'll get appropriate attention by diverting to Leamington Hospital, they'll divert the ambulance to Leamington Hospital, where they think they'll get quicker attention, and that particular ambulance or unit will be freed up quicker. And I think the mayor is agreeing there. So that's one of the actions that they're taking to ensure that we can have a higher target rate of more ambulances, more coverage with ambulances, because every time one of those ambulances are taken out, the balance of the ambulances that are in service have to cover a larger area. So they may be a little bit further from wherever the call-in is from. One of the other things that they're looking at is vulnerable patient enrollment. And they've got a program that they've started over the last 2 years called Community Paramedic Remote Patient Monitoring Project. And that enables patients to remain in their homes and not requiring transport to emergency departments. Because what happens is you may have a person who 2 or 3 times a week may call an ambulance because they feel they have the need to go to the hospital. And as we get older, and this happens in a lot of times with persons that are elderly, they've lost their partner, they're living alone, they may not be stable or able to get around in their own home properly. This particular group has identified certain individuals that are potentially in this kind of a situation, and as soon as a call comes from that person, they dispatch this certain particular group that knows to get there to help this person. They don't necessarily, in most instances, need to go to a hospital. So that's another situation that they've set themselves up with. Another one is another one's called Vulnerable Patient Navigator Project, and you can enroll in that through the Community Health Assessment Program. And similar goals that allow vulnerable patients to remain in their homes. But this one is, it's a little bit different in the sense that they may have somebody like a neighbor that's willing to be on this program alongside with EMS, and they know to get a hold of a particular person that this patient that calls in on a regular basis for ambulance service knows that can come there and help the person out, rather than having an ambulance actually go there or an EMS personnel in their non-emergency service vehicle go to the particular house to help out. So there's all kinds of programs and action plans that they're taking place. There's a number of others here that are, I would say, that are more minor, that would take out less number of visits. But the idea that I wanted to get across is that EMS is trying to make the service better than what it is, and I think we have to give them a lot of credit for moving forward like this. And a lot of it's got to do with county council members pushing the EMS service to try and give us a better service than what we have right now. We want to make sure that these targets are always above the standards that the province sets, and if we can get to be the #1 in Ontario, that's kind of the hope that we have. So thank you, and that's all that I have to report tonight.
Thank you very much for that, sir. Any questions? Deputy Mayor. Thank you for that.
Correspondence to be received, that the correspondence so listed in agenda item 11.1 be received and where indicated to further share with the community.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions? Councillor Bundy and Councillor Vokes.
Councillor Vokes, I don't want to, through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to steal your thunder, because we could be thinking about the same thing, the flags of remembrance. It says in our email to the committee, it says that keep us in mind for the 2019 sponsorship, and then Suzanne wrote back saying, you know, they're starting a wait list for 2019. So I don't know if we don't have any council contingency funds, but I think the request was only $200. $250? Okay, well, whatever it was, if each of us throw in $40 of our own personal money, we can make the donation. So I'm sorry, I don't want to steal your thunder, because I think that's where you were going. But I have $40, and maybe if we all put $40 together, we can submit it through the town, because we don't have any ward funds right now. I don't have any money on me. I have to get Ricky. He's out in the hall somewhere. Yeah.
Councilor Vokes? Oh,
And by the way, accolades where accolades are due, it was the mayor himself who said we should identify to them in 2019, we'll participate in that. So it was a great idea, and I was there actually for that, and it was a huge crowd. So anyways, thank you, Councillor Bondi, so as long as we recognize it somehow, it don't matter.
Just checking to see if we're receiving all three of these reports. Any further discussion with any of the other ones?
Mr. Mayor?
Nope, Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. Not that I want to, I agree with receipt on this, but the note from Tracy Ramsey on medical cannabis facilities in Essex, I've had an opportunity in passing to talk with other members of the community about this, and a couple of the councillors here as well, but I think that, this is coming quickly, and I think that this is something that once the new council has come to pass, that we've got, it's not what I'm... Okay. Okay. But what I wanted to get to was, we've got to look at bylaws for if we're going to allow cannabis facilities, medical facilities to allow the sale of medical marijuana in our communities. We've got to jump on our bylaws fairly quickly once the new council is elected. Thank you.
Okay, anything further? There was just one thing with regards to the letter I got from Premier Ford. He made a statement in there that the town of Essex said, if I could just find it here, we didn't want anything to do with the Green Energy Act. That wasn't true. We didn't say we didn't want any part of it. Like there was no part of it that wasn't good. The big thing we had an issue with was the turbines. You know, I don't think we discussed any other part of the Green Energy Act, but in his letter to me, which you all got a copy of, I sent to you, he says that we were against the complete Green Energy Act, but I just wanted to mention that. But anyways, it was nice he sent us a letter. All right. Okay, and if there's nothing else, I'll ask for all in favor. Motion carries.
11.2.1, correspondence to be considered for receipt and support. Correspondence from the Rural Ontario Institute that Essex Council receive and support the submission of an expression of interest for municipal youth internship funding from the Royal Ontario Institute.
Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
12.1, that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes from September 18, 2018 be adopted as circulated.
Support.
Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Rogers. Questions? All in favor? That carries.
13.1, that the bank payments report for July 2018 be ratified as submitted.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 15.1 on the agenda, the following notice of motion was deferred at the September 17th meeting and is being brought forward for consideration this evening. Councillor Bondi, that council create an inventory of community safety zones around school districts and crossings and review the speed limits in community safety zones as moved by Councillor Bondi and would need a seconder.
Seconded by Councillor Bjorkman. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is not an idea that I'm raising by myself. As a parent that has young children that go to the school, this has been something that some moms have raised with me. So I just want to say that what some other municipalities have done, have they looked at working with the police and administration, sending out reminders that all school zones are 30 kilometers an hour. I'm not saying we need to go all school zones 30 kilometers an hour, but I would like to get an inventory of our school zones And then those roads, get an inventory around which roads are around which schools. In LaSalle, they chose to make those areas community safety zones, all of them, and for everyone's safety. So it's just something that I think it could be done across the municipality, and we can be consistent. I know I get a lot of complaints about speeding, and enforcement's always been an issue. So how can we pair enforcement with maybe different avenues, like the community safety zones are looking at speed limits? I just want to have that inventory here, and then we can vet it with public information and public feedback, and administration and the police can actually, we can all work together on something with the police. I would like it if council would entertain that idea. I don't know what anybody else's thoughts are, but that's mine.
Okay. Any comments or questions with regards to this? Okay. Councilor Bjorkman, look like you want to say. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. We're going to all agree? All in favor, motion carries.
On the agenda was, this notice of motion was presented at the September 17th meeting and is also being brought forward for consideration this evening. Councilor Bondi, that with the motion that administration be directed to investigate the possibility of expanding the community improvement program to include retail revitalization grants, as moved by Councilor Bondi, and would need a seconder.
Councilor Rogers supports. Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This kind of came from an idea that the Chamber did with the Win This Space idea. The Win This Space idea took off in downtown Harrow. The Chamber has found grants along with, I don't know, the business group in Windsor. I'm sorry, I don't know the name. And they're looking at groups pitching a business idea and renting out space. So I went through the City of Windsor. They have a really thick document on CIP programs. It's actually really good. I didn't read it in detail, but I found this grant that they have that we don't have. And we've continually added to our grant programs, like a demolition grant, an accessible door grant. So retail revitalization grant, you know, it's come, you know, there's the Harrow Computer Barn and a new business is opening there, and there's, you know, Dr. Chung's building in town, and there's some vacant buildings like the Max Milk in Harrow. Like, if we could pair with that owner and throw $4,000 at it, and they throw $4,000 at it, and we have an open business, I think it's a win-win. So just something, seeking council support to investigate it and bring it back to council. Just another one of our tools in our toolkit for the businesses and for the promotion of our downtown cores.
In this report, would it tell us the difference between this and the CIP program?
Of course, it can, yeah, sure. Why would it not?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about this program. But
It's just one, the CIP program has 8 strands, or 9 strands, 9 different grants. This is just adding one little grant component within the CIP program. It's the same thing, just adding another grant that business owners can apply for.
Thank you. Councilor Rogers?
Well, I was just gonna, and I guess since we have a motion on the floor, we really can't, but I was wondering if, Jeff might be able to give us an idea as to whether this would be feasible right now. But we do have a motion on the floor.
Through you, Your Worship, I think we need to vet this out within our staff, but I do want to point out that, you know, we can bring this back for this term of council, and that's fine. Whether or not we can implement anything because we're lame duck and this is not budget, we may have to bring it forward again to the next council, so I just wanted to bring that up.
So, all in favor of this going forward? Motion carries. Councilor Bjorkman.
Yeah, I'd like to add a notice of motion for the next meeting.
Okay.
A motion that administration prepare a report to council regarding a bylaw to regulate where in the town of Essex a licensed marijuana retailer can be located. I think you were reading my mind earlier there, Deputy Mayor. Good.
You want that for the next meeting, 15th? Or? Yep, that's for the 15th. Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, to Councillor Bjorkman, that's just for retail outlet? Yes. If you would, I would like, if you would add, I would like...
If I can, point of order, you can't add to it. It's
Okay.
my notice. You can add to it at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. You're going to 16?
I was going through.
Okay. At this time, reports and announcements from council members. First of all, we have Mrs. Hunter. Say something. Oh, okay. Should have warned you.
Thank you, through your worship. I attended a ELK board meeting last Thursday, and then there's been some tweets out from that since then. And what they were reporting was last week Hydro One placed into service newly upgraded distribution system equipment in the Harrow service area. This will assist in improving reliability of service to Harrow service area customers. That was just to let the residents out there know that that has been completed, and hopefully we see some improvements.
Good.
You want me to do that? Also,
You'll get that.
what's that? Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Now reports, Councillor Bondi, I'm going to start with you tonight.
Thank you,
Or
Mr.
announcements.
Oh, sure. Announcements.
Announcements,
All right,
okay.
two quick ones. As I'm no stranger to advocating for democracy. It's been known that sometimes I stand on a little box and say that I really want high voter turnout. So I want to send the message out there again. If you're not on the voters list, show up at a poll with ID. We have 2 advance polls and then election day polls everywhere. Bring ID, bring a passport or a birth certificate if you can. If not, you can sign an affidavit. One little thing for some of the council members that were not at the ELK meeting this past Thursday, I just want to add one thing because it was a really good meeting. The reclosure was supposed to be up and running September 26th. I have not had a power flicker at my house to date. I need to knock on wood. If you have a power flicker, going forward, please contact your utility company and let them know so we can keep tracking information and really find out if the problem is put to rest. One thing that was mentioned at that meeting is that reclosure that was south of Colchester was one of the worst, if not the worst, shape in all of Ontario. So I really feel like this council and the ELK board took on the power crisis of Ontario. Hopefully, it's fixed. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Snively.
Nothing, your worship.
You. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Chair of Communities in Bloom, I would like to make an announcement as to what transpired over the last week. But I would, if I could, a little unorthodox, but I'd like to defer to Director Sweet to make that announcement because he was there, and it's great news for our town.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Sweet.
Your worship, yes, this past week, myself and Nathan Hamilton, our landscape technician, were in Edmonton for the Communities in Bloom National and International Awards. We were not judged this year, so we're in a non-evaluated category, but we could still compete with Outstanding Achievement Awards nationally. The town of Essex was nominated for 2 Outstanding Achievement Awards. One was environmental, and we were the finalists with Jasper, Alberta, and Statler, Alberta. Unfortunately, we finished second there. However, the big one was community involvement, and we were the finalists with Ashcroft, BC, and Millette, Alberta, and we were the winners. And that's one of the kind of their grand prize for outstanding achievements, because it surely shows what your community and your residents are involved. So great kudos to our council, our staff, administration, and Communities in Bloom Committee, but all our committees, because we did Heritage, ACT, departments with infrastructure. So this truly is a team effort, and it's something our residents should be very proud of.
Thank you, Ron. Essex, where you belong. Councillor Bjorkman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a thank you to everybody that was involved with the BIA street party last week. It was a great success. Lots of businesses came out, other vendors came out. I guess Batman was a big hit at the actual Batmobile, I think. That was an amazing car and outfit that they had there. But it was well attended, so a thank you to everybody who came out and to all those businesses that put their time into it.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Vokes.
I was going to put forward a notice of motion on this, but I thought it was something we could discuss right now, just briefly, or even turn it over to administration, because to get a quick answer on it, because the other night, we all received alerts of the tornado watch, or warning, I'm sorry, which identified to people to go and take cover. The problem with it was, there was no identification of the warning ending in another alert. So if you're in the basement with your family, you're down there sitting there for hours and hours and hours, waiting to get the alert, it's ended, and there's no alert comes. You'd still be sitting in your basement. So it's something that should be addressed ASAP, that says, that identifies, you get alerts of the warning ending. Because watches just say the elements are right. Warning is, one's coming. And that's significant. And so again, people are sitting in their basement, hiding in the corner with the kids crying, just praying to get that second alert that it's safe to come out. 3 o'clock in the morning, they're still sitting in there. Little Johnny's face is beat red for crying for 6 hours. So there's no sense to that.
Sure, someone will check into that.
Well, we got, I thought we had Rick here, so that's all.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to say thank you to everyone that came out to the mug run at the Coan Park. That was a week ago Saturday. They had a good 600-700 people that attended the event. It was a beautiful event, transformed the park into something that looks like an event on Central Park in New York. I mean, it looks spectacular. And the crowd was, wonderful music, a couple of different bands, and the setup was great. Again, very successful, and thanks to those who were able to come out and support it. Secondly, I want to talk a little bit about an adventure that EDHS, our Essex District High School, is in the middle of right now. They have entered themselves into the Aviva Community Fund competition. This is to attain some high school bleachers for our sports field. And I think most people remember 10 years ago when the Essex Public School funded the playground that we have now there by winning this same competition. And the last I looked, EDHS was in the lead in this competition. So I would ask and plead with anyone who's listening to this. It takes just a few minutes to go online. You can go to Aviva Community Fund, and as soon as you Google that, you'll come up to a sheet that will get you into it. And go to vote for Essex High School bleachers. We need every vote. There are a couple of second and third place competitors that are creeping up on us. We want to be the ones that are successful. We want bleachers at Essex District High School. So help us out. Thank you.
Just in addition to that, you can punch 10 times, one right after the other. You don't have to wait till tomorrow to do number 2, everyone. It's hit the button 10 times in a row.
And I forgot to mention, the contest ends October 4th. So we need as many as we can get to jump on right now. We've only got another 3 days.
Thank you very much for that, sir. And with that, we'll go to our bylaws. Oh, Councilor Bjorkman.
Just quickly, I didn't say it should, this Saturday is the first advance poll. So the advance poll is at the Shaheen Room at the Essex Center, Sports Center. It's open to everybody in the town, not just for people from Essex Center, but anywhere in the town. So the first advance poll is 9 to 5 at the Shaheen Room this Saturday. Get out and vote early. I was going to vote often. I can't...
Item 17, Bylaws, 1748 for third reading this evening.
Moved by Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Deputy Mayor Malavich. Any questions? All in favor? That carries.
1730 for all three readings this evening.
Deputy Mayor Malavich, supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Questions? All in favor? That carries.
And 1753 for two readings this evening.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Councilor Rogers. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Adjournment. Councilor Bjorkman and Deputy Mayor Malavich, all in favor? That's always in order. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everyone.